And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned in to the Status Network, the live TV channel, and this is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton. And as we do every second and fourth Wednesday about this time, we're looking forward to having a great conversation with some great guests across entertainment, business, community, and more. So before we bring on our guests for the evening, we'll take care of a couple station announcements as well as the all-important public service announcements. So first with the network, we appreciate you taking time to watch Status Network, the live TV channel, and of course my show, but there's more than just that. Make sure to connect with all the great networks, programming, radio stations, and more. To best enjoy tonight's show, make sure to go to statusnetwork.net, and when the big pop-up box shows up, go ahead and click on Conversation Corner, and that way you're good to go. For those of you that have room on your smart devices, make sure to download the Status Network app, click on Channels, click on Live TV, that's L-Y-V-E, Live TV, and you're good to go. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, YouTube, and other social media platforms, make sure to add Status Network as well as Live TV. For those of you that have Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, make sure to go ahead and tune in to Status Network and you're good to go. And if you have not added me yet, if you haven't added me by now, you need to go ahead and take care of that. Like seriously, like last week. Actually, like last year, but that's another story. But make sure to add my Facebook page, author Andrew Snorton, and it's already public and already shareable, and share what you're watching here so you can stay connected with not only me, but just as important, if not more important, the great guests. They're really doing some great things. And now at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and go to our public service announcements. First off, for all of the filmmakers out there, you want to make sure to get connected with Status Films. That is right. If you want to get your short film, long film, documentary, the exposure that it needs on the platforms that are second to none, make sure to connect with Status Network at the information you see at the bottom of your screen. So make sure to make that happen today. Our next public service announcement. And the music that you heard is compliments of my new music sponsor, the Ear Candy Experience. If you want some sweet notes in your ear, this is the band that you want to hear. Hey, I just made that rhyme, but hey, I'm an author, so hey, I got talent. But this band, I tell you what, R&B, hip-hop, jazz, funk, rock, you name it, they can do it. So make sure to connect with the Ear Candy Experience at the information that you see right there on your screen, as they'll be serving as our music sponsor at least through the end of this year. So hey, making moves, making moves. Our next public service announcement, one of our guests from the show earlier this year, this is Custom LLC. I tell you what, their I Am Black Legacy t-shirt series, it is needed now more than ever, so make sure to go to This Is Custom LLC on your social media platforms, get your merch, and go ahead and support something that's really, really good and powerful and needed. Our next public service announcement, well, Rockdale County, I tell you what, someone has a great sense of humor in regards to which type of polls we're going to go to, but that's all right. Focus on the message. Saturday, October 24th at 9 a.m. You want to make sure to be there. The 100 Black Male March to the Polls. So shouts to our friends at Rockdale County out in Wheeler Park. Our next public service announcement is the Loganville Conyers chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. This coming Saturday, they've got a bunch of events going on, but one of the key events, especially during this time, is the on-demand virtual voter registration tutorial. We all hear about getting registered to vote, get registered to vote, you need to vote, you need to vote, but some people honestly might not know how to do it. So this coming Saturday, make sure to contact at the email address provided, as well as the contact number for availability. This is one of the ways the men of the Loganville Conyers chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated are making sure to give back, but educate and inform, equip, and empower, because as you may or may not know, in the state of Georgia, October 5th is the deadline, so you want to make it happen before then. Our next public service announcement. For those of you that live in Snellville, this is really important. Tomorrow, September 24th, from 6 to 8 p.m., there's going to be a public meeting hosted on Zoom. The reason why you want to make sure you're involved in that, there's the potential for a 200 housing unit right at the intersection of Mink, Livesey, and Lee Road. So if you're concerned about areas and issues related to the infrastructure, from traffic to public safety, when the schools reopen, overcrowding of the schools, you might want to be on this one. So make sure to check out the Zoom ID that you see there, as well as the passcode, and let your voice be heard. That'll be tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. Our next public service announcement, Dr. Therese Johnson. She was a guest for our show at the end of August, and she is the presumptive nominee candidate, however you want to frame it, for District 5 for Gwinnett County Public Schools. Fluent in multiple languages, as you see right there, in English and Spanish, amongst other languages. But make sure to check out her platform, which clearly involves engagement across the board, especially with District 5 being one of, if not the most diverse district within the larger Gwinnett County Public School system. Make sure to check out her platform at votetheresejohnson.com. Make sure to get connected, lend some support. Go ahead and find some of that loose change in your pockets, in your couch, and that old sock, that Crisco can. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't know. But make sure to lend support, especially for those that are making an honest effort to make sure to encompass the many and not just the few. Our next public service announcement. Oh my goodness, some of you might have heard a rumor that I went to Wake Forest University. I got the paper to prove it. Not that paper, but the degree. Seriously, degree. Don't ask me for anything. But real talk, if you join me, this is a great series that is done called Call to Conversation. And I'll be leading a talk focusing on the power of the arts and seeing how the arts can really influence change from our way of thinking to our action. Now, this is primarily for Wake Forest University alums, but I've been notified if you are a friend of the university, and be a friend of mine so you can be a friend of the university, make sure the easiest way to get connected and register, because I don't know how many spaces are left, if you visit the information that's listed on Instagram, and you can register at the website, and the topic is the power of the arts. It is, yours truly will be hosting it. So looking forward to a great way to not only just have a think tank, but let's make it into an action tank. So that's what we're looking forward to a week from this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Our next public service announcement. Oh my goodness, hey, you got to stay engaged and stay involved. Don't get me wrong, I do a great job on the show, but there's more than just me hosting a show. I'm really excited to be a part of this upcoming Greeks United Presents. So members of our Divine Nine organizations, which are predominantly Black Greek letter fraternities and sororities, all members of all of our organizations are coming together this coming Saturday at 1 p.m. So we have to give shouts and acknowledgments to all the organizations. So I'll do it in inverse order from the youngest to the oldest. So shouts to our members of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and the one that kind of, I'll just say, set the tone. I mean, we just went in inverse order, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So make sure to check it out, share the info, let's get engaged and involved this coming Saturday. Our next public service announcement is, I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this. Most of you know how near and dear the triad is to me, so I'm real excited. On October 21st at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WSNC Radio in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, I'll be an in-studio guest for the show Triad in Focus with one of the great people I've been blessed to know for I'll say a good while, Mr. Jim Steele. So make sure to tune in. We'll announce this again for my show that is prior to my appearance, but make sure to connect with me as I make a trip up to the Triad. Our next public service announcement. Hey y'all, I'm like butter. I'm on a roll. Most of you know of the new book, Nothing Minor, which chronicles last year's coverage of minor league baseball. I'm real excited to announce that not only am I on Amazon, but hey, I'm on the come up and I'm very humble. Barnes and Noble, yeah. I'm on the move, y'all. Barnes & Noble in the building, as well as Young Gifted and Black Children's Books and Workshop in Stone Mountain, and more stores are coming. Make sure to connect with me at the information provided, and make sure to get into the game today because that is Nothing Minor. And now our last public service announcement will be regarding one of I'm sorry. See, that's why I have a great team around me. The Fast 15. This is the weekly live chat series. I should have remembered this because I did this earlier this afternoon. But each and every Wednesday, about 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on my Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and Zoom, we do our nice, quick little 15, 20-minute chat to check up and check in. So make plans to join us each and every Wednesday at 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our next public service announcement, all about the authors. This is the Authors Roundtable series I do with celebrity source Tyra Satai every second and fourth Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to catch our previous edition with Christine Phipps Davis and Cleve Bush. We'll be dropping the info tomorrow for this coming Sunday's guests. And I think we should have our last public service announcement is, I'm sorry. I tell you what, I've really been working, y'all. October 31st. Make sure October 31st, connect with me at Nubian Bookstore. I'll do an in-person book signing, and to make it simple, it'll be a boo. Okay, all right. Boo sounded like I'm booing, but beautiful time, boo, Halloween. It won't be scary. I'll have some Halloween candy for y'all. But make sure to come out to Nubian Bookstore and check me out there. Okay, let me catch my breath for a minute. I'm trying to make the magic happen. So now I think is going to be our last public service announcement, and we're going to check out Get the Bag, which is the third edition of the audiobook series, the Authors Mixtape, available on 300 of your favorite platforms. So make sure to cop it. Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Deezer, SoundCloud, all of them. So make sure to check it out. And this is shouts to Third Level Entertainment Group and Canis Major Digital for helping make the magic happen. So let's take a look at this particular
Hey everybody, this is the author Andrew Snorton, and we're back for the third volume of the Authors Mixtape. And while we went creative the first time from H to O, and then the second time beyond the holidays, beyond history, we're keeping it real simple and even more organic than the first two. Get the bag. Now, when you hear get the bag, many of you associate it with money. Hustling, working hard, trying to get that loot, trying to get them ends, and that's part of it. But we're going to expand it and make it just a little bit bigger. For example, the bag for you might be that goal to excel and exceed and achieve the next levels professionally, to excel and achieve, to reach and exceed the next levels within your community or your families or yourself. And we always know as you get closer to achieving that next goal, those challenges get harder. You know what I mean? Like you're getting there and all of a sudden it's like something comes knocking at your door, almost like this whole, this bad date that we have with the Rona, just knocking on your door, trying to take out your 2020. COVID-19 taking out the 2020. But still, as our elders say, keep your eyes on the prize. Still, like Dr. Maya Angelou would say, and still I rise. So keep your eyes on the bag, keep your eyes on your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Keep looking at continuing to grow and develop and tap into levels that go beyond even your wildest dreams and imagination. So yeah, y'all, I kind of like paper chasing. Well, in this case, let's go ahead and get that bag.
And we are back. I tell you what, we had a whole lot of PSAs, but when you have a lot of PSAs, you know we have a great guest. So we had to have that great opening for our great guest who's with us tonight, Dr. Tonia Phanor. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for enduring that marathon that we did earlier. So for those people who aren't familiar, I want to really focus on this first segment, making sure people have a point of reference of where you're based out of, and let's really focus on the great business pieces that you're doing, because you're cutting across not only the public sector but also the commercial and the private sector. So walk through with us a few things.
I cross over into different areas. I actually began in education. I've been a professor for almost 20 years now. It's hard to believe. That's crazy. But I started in education as a communication professor and working with students, training them in communication skills. And then as I was doing, different events or working with business professionals, I began to get requests to work with professionals in helping them with their communication skills in media and public speaking and different things. And so that's kind of where Phanor Consulting began, and I started working with individuals in that regard.
So let me ask you this on your consulting journey with communication. Do you see that the dynamics are similar regardless if it's in the public sector, education, or the private sector business? Or are there a couple things that are, quote, I'll say, more unique to those particular areas?
Well, it's both. There are some things that are similar, like fear. There is it's a common denominator, whether it's in the public sector or the private sector. A lot of people have fear regarding public speaking, regarding communication, and just a lack of knowledge. And so, in understanding that, but I think obviously within the private sector, it's important that they get it right because it affects their business and their ability to provide for themselves, so that you have that, commercial component to it in the private sector, that they need this to run an effective business. So
now let me ask you this. You said a common denominator for some people is fear. That's one of the big, but that's just with anybody coming to public speaking. I think fear for me was running out of breath at the beginning. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me today. So let me ask you this. Outside of just general fear, what would you say are some common barriers or common hurdles that you're able to equip and empower people to, if they don't fully clear it, they know how to maneuver around it?
I think one of them first is mental, because a lot of people do have, if it's not fear, it can be insecurities, or they don't feel like their story is worthy enough, or they don't feel like, why should people listen to me when they really could be an expert in their field? Usually people that are have the most to give sometimes are too humble and they don't want to share, but really it's a disadvantage to all the people that they could help from sharing their story and the expertise that they have in particular areas. So really, one of the first major hurdles is getting over themselves and getting over any past issues, or maybe people just say that they just don't like to talk in front of people. They don't want to do videos in the area. We know or media, social media. We have to do so many different things where we have to talk on a regular basis. So even if you're not in media, just to have a successful business, if you're not on social media, if you're not doing videos, if you're really not in the public realm, and there are a lot of people that you're missing that could be reached if they didn't have that setback. So getting over themselves, and then just working through their message and really tailoring that to the audience that they're trying to reach, and organizing it into really interesting, compelling package that is going to grab the clients that they're trying to seek to gain.
So the takeaways I'm getting are, in no particular order, get out of your own way. No, yes. and I've said that before, and people are like, "Oh, Andrew, you're just trying." No, see, I'm verified. She said the exact same thing. Listen to me when I say something. But no, seriously, but sometimes, like you said, we kind of manufacture barriers that limit what we do. A second thing that I was hearing is understanding it's okay to cast as wide a net as possible with your target audience. And it doesn't mean you have to use the same tools everybody else is, but you have to do something to engage and connect, because there really is something that can be said for what out of sight, out of mind.
And even though you're casting a wide net, you still need to know your niche and like who is your true target audience. Because, if you look at any marketing campaign, yes, they want everyone to buy, but there is a specific target that they're most trying to reach. And so, working with them to develop, okay, who are you most trying to reach and really trying to get this message to? But then obviously, if it reaches an even broader market, that's great. You can reach out to some additional.
Now, let me ask you this. In the times of the current pandemic, being creative is part of it. And I'm sure like creativity is part of what you talk about. I would probably gather pre-COVID was a lot of maybe the lunch and learns or workshops, things along those lines. What adjustments are you making during the pandemic to still be able to work with your clients that you are within education, business, and beyond? Because there might be people that aren't necessarily based here but are based beyond here. They're like, hey, what she's talking about are some things I need to connect with.
Yes, we've all had to reinvent ourselves this year. It has been crazy, and it's one of the things you mentioned, the chaos of it. About a little while ago, I posted that chaos is often the catalyst to creativity. And that
Wait. Let me catch my breath here. Repeat that one more time, and I'm asking you to repeat that because it's important, because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, this some fill in the blank, I can't deal. Repeat that one more time for our viewers.
That chaos is often the catalyst to creativity. And so we have to think outside of the box. It's crazy that this year I've done more media than I did last year. Yes, it's been virtual. Yes, it's had tons of Zoom interviews and presentation. Zoom is like my best friend. We are like this. It's definitely, I've had to reinvent how I do trainings, really preparing them. Before it was an option that, maybe you might have to prepare and do virtual presentations. Now it's a necessity. You have to be comfortable. And the great thing, you never know when God's preparing you for something that you didn't even know was coming. 8 years ago, I started teaching online and doing, virtual classes, and started preparing and, doing trainings, not knowing that we'd be in a situation where that would be the norm, and I would have to teach both. I still teach at a university as well as with clients and consultants, pretty much online, as well as we're getting a little bit more in person. But it's definitely been a shift.
I would say, and this is using higher learning academia terms, there's been a paradigm shift.
Yes,
wait.
yes.
See all for the academics in the house. And see, I used it correctly. It's been a paradigm shift. So the ways that we've been used to doing things, this almost sounds like story time, the way we've been used to doing things, doing it just a little bit differently. But you made a valid point regarding virtual, because it's like, I guess, like you said, the virtual pieces like Zoom or WebEx, it was where, okay, it was like every once in a while you do it and it's all right, it's cool. Now it's like you said, you really, if it's not a necessity, at least it's something that's part of your toolbox because you're having to use it a lot more often. And this is going to tie into a question I have, the use of technology. With the people that you've been working with, have you seen it where there's people who are more open to using it? Are there people that are more hesitant? Is it like one of those, it's almost like you got to take out the trash, you don't feel like it, but you're going to do it. What's been the mood regarding using, let's say, like Zoom, WebEx, and other similar forms of technology?
Well, now you're getting back into academia and studies where you say you have the early adopters and you have those people who are the first ones to jump on board. People that were using Zoom 5-10 years ago, when it first began. I think I started 2 years ago. But then you have the late adopters and people who are, they say, okay, maybe there's something to this Zoom thing. I better get on board. And so sometimes it could be an age thing, but not always. It's crazy. I have college students that still have trouble getting on Zoom. But you have those that I would say probably more overall that the younger ones are easier to adopt. I mean, my 5-year-old is on Zoom with his kindergarten teacher. So like they easily adopt. It's like, how do you know this? Like he knows how to get on and program music and do at 5. And so I think sometimes the younger generation maybe catches on quicker, but my mom is on Zoom and other people they learn how to use it, and social media and different things. So you will always have those are kind of the ones that are quick to try new things and do different things, and then slowly and surely you'll have everyone start to catch on board.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, because different people jump on at different points in time. Some of it might be it's part of their routine. Some people understand, okay, if I'm trying to get from point A to point B, this is something I'm going to incorporate. Some people are resistant, so I totally get it. Here's a question I think about, because I know, we talk about, business and knowledge and acumen and all these words. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know how to use these words. Remember, I'm an author, English major.
And a college graduate.
And a college graduate. Yes, I'm all that and then some, yeah. But here's a question, and one of the concepts is like, how do you work within a structure but yet still tap into creativity within that structure? Is that a theme that sometimes comes up when you're doing your talks and doing your seminars and discussions?
Well, really, communication is an art form. And just like any other art form within music, yes, it takes practice. But I do believe that whether it's in media, whether it's in film, those are, as in college, those are art, considered, a part of arts and humanities, a part of that type of school. And so definitely it's creative. It's I think people that are more creatively built, are going to do well. They do well in media and social media and things like that. But it can be learned. It's not something that not all artistic ability is just, God-given. You can learn and practice and get better at it. And even if you do have a natural ability, you still need to practice and learn to get better.
Wow, that's great. So for those of you with hidden talent out there, there is a space and place for you. There sure is. Gosh, so it's like you said, you've been able to adapt, you've been able to adjust. Like you said before, in some respects, going virtual does allow you to cast that wider net. Now, no one necessarily knows what the future holds, but let me ask you this. When we finally do transition out of this pandemic, and I know you might not be able to necessarily answer this, but do you see, or based on this current wave, when things do finally calm down, and they are going to calm down, ladies and gentlemen, at some point, do you see yourself being still leaning more towards use of technology, or do you think when things open up, you'll be able to strike that balance between the traditional audience and, like we're doing here face to face, but knowing that, okay, I don't always, quote, have to be out on the road. I can still be effective virtually. Like, where do you kind of see things, where do you think things may go when things do calm down?
You always want to be ahead of the curve. And so we see now how important knowing technology, being able to apply technology, and really the same skills that you would use in person, you can use in a virtual platform. And so even after this, whatever that is, I mean, really, I don't think we'll ever truly be, there's no like going back to exactly how we were. But I do believe that even still, there is going to, I think even companies, there are many companies that are allowing, their employees to continue. Even after the pandemic, they've already made plans to do work from home. They're already more open. More companies are more open to, ways that you can either telework or do different things. So I think that, we need to be prepared to that. It's not, if you think that after this you won't ever have to use technology again, that's not going to be the case. Like, you still need to be very comfortable and continue to work on and learn about new technologies for your business and personally.
Okay. Well, what we'll do at this point, we're going to go ahead and take our commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about one of the other hats that the good doctor wears. And it's something that we have in common. And it's not just our color scheme either. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in just a few moments on the Conversation Corner.
He's in the game. He's ready to get in the game. They're ready to get in the game. And it's the 100-year anniversary of the Negro Leagues. Make sure to get your copy of Nothing Minor, my newest hardcover and ebook, available on Amazon, some of your favorite bookstores, and other retailers coming soon. It's a snapshot of our 2019 coverage of minor league baseball, and we have a special section on the Negro Southern Leagues Museum based in Birmingham, Alabama. Make sure to connect with me at the information provided, and make sure to get into the game today. And that is Nothing Minor.
And, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the second part of our interview with Dr. Tonia Phanor. And again, we're on the Conversation Corner. And like we were kidding around before we went to our quick break, we both have, something in common, and that is published author. And that is no small feat. So any authors that are out there, you already know what we're talking about. So I'd like for you to kind of share a little bit about your author journey, because here you are, the education background, the consultant, the parent, the spouse, and everything. So it's like, how did you find time to add the author hat into this plethora? See, look at this. This is educator talk. That plethora and wide array.
Well, I started, if you want to go all the way back, I've always been a writer, and I always wrote. I did poems. That's how I first started writing as a child, and I always loved to write. But my first book actually was before I was married, before I had kids. I just had an experience and felt like I needed to write about it, and had no intentions of being an author, had no plans of being an author. This was shortly before 9/11, I think, happened, the day before or very close to it. And I was, coming from California and Georgia, it's just crazy, learning to drive and navigate, because just totally different system of how we construct our cities. But
that is a very professional way of calling it, totally different.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave it at that. We're just going to roll with it, totally different.
So, needless to say, I remember being completely lost. And I come from LA, and where I come from, gas stations don't close, and this was back in this was in 2001, 2000, yeah, it was 9/11, yeah. So I was okay, there's nowhere I could go to get help or find out where I needed to go, and roads don't continue, they change names and change. So I wasn't used to that. But anyway, to make a long story short, I finally got home. And I just kind of had this light bulb moment, in life, when you don't really know your purpose, you don't know really where you're going. That's what life is like without direction and without any insight. And so that was kind of the catalyst, that little inspiration that I felt like I just needed to write about it. And so I just wrote about that experience, and then and then I kept getting another chapter and chapters, and I was like, oh, okay, you want me to write a book? And so that was changing lanes, understanding your lane in life. And so I kind of wrote that, working with college students, and, obviously they're deciding where they want to major, where they want to do in life. But even now, what's going on right now, it's really, I think people have taken a reassessment and okay, am I really heading in the right direction? Am I really doing what I need to be doing? And I think a lot of people are really evaluating their lane in life and kind of understanding. So that was kind of how the first book came about.
And I want to pause there for a moment because you made a good point. And you took your personal experience and paralleled it to something broader, thematically. And even though you wrote that, I'll say, like you said, around the time of 9/11, thematically speaking, it is still probably even more relevant. So little did you know what seed you were planting when you wrote that. And so, like, on one level, it was the accomplishment of, oh, I really do have a book, I really do have a gift. But thematically speaking, it is, like you said, given how things have been very fast changing, especially during these past 6 months, that is definitely relevant. Now, repeat, before you get into your next book, please, for our viewers, remind our viewers of the title and then how people can purchase that. And then let's pivot to your next work.
So that my first book was called Changing Lanes, A New Adult's Guide to Understanding Your Lane in Life. And it is still on Amazon. It's still on, I was on Barnes & Noble too. So it still was on all the major outlets available. And and definitely you can go to drtoniaphanor.com and, let me know.
That sounds good. So definitely, like you said, if there's viewers out there that are kind of like, hey, I've got to change directions, or the direction I thought I was going in might not be the greatest, this sounds like this will be an ideal read. So yes, get your copy. And now let's talk about your next one.
So my second book, I have another one for next year, but we're going to jump ahead. So my second book, it's called The One, A Woman's Search for Eternal Love. And it deals obviously more with relationships, not personally as well as spiritually. And it is an inspirational book, and it really deals with how you grow personally and spiritually, and through that improve your relationships. When you're healed and when you're whole, you just have a lot more to give to others, and how it just improves your marriage or relationships. And so and it's kind of ironic that I wrote that book before I was married, but I would not change a word or thing. And I have a lot of women that I respect and admire in different areas that also provide advice. But basically, it's a story of 7 women kind of going through various different relationship stages and challenges, from engaged to divorced to married to different situations, but kind of navigating through that, and then just real life practical advice as well as spiritual growth, and helping you grow through different situations, and learn to as you grow in who God's called you to be, you'll be better, in the relationship He has for you. So,
And the different themes I was hearing when you were describing that, it's hard to pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
And I'm sure that that's an adage that people have heard. And I know even earlier today in my live chat, I'm like, yeah, I know I need to get more sleep. I mean, I look all right now, but I'm just saying, I need to get a little bit more sleep. I can openly admit that, but it's hard to pour out of an empty cup. And when you were mentioning some of those themes about, the unselfishness and giving and nurturing and all those things, it's almost like, just like it's hard to run a car on, an empty tank, it's hard for people to run when your cup isn't full. And I really want to hit home that the underlying theme is your faith and spirituality. And some people with a number of the things that are going on might have doubts, like what role or what place does faith and spirituality have? Because what I see is the absence of it. So reiterate to our viewers not only just the thematic importance of faith and spirituality within the context of your book, but then taking it beyond there.
What I'm thinking about is now, and what we're dealing with during this pandemic, and what we're dealing with, in relationships. A lot of relationships are being challenged. A lot of relationships are being stressed, and you're at home, and the kids are home. Yes, so spirituality, yes, I was just talking with someone, you need to be praying to somebody because it's really real. But it's just definitely part of what can help keep you grounded. I know me personally, I just have to take some time, in the morning every day for my, just to get myself spiritually grounded, to just be able to deal with everything in the day and be able to see the opportunities and the good and how all things are working together for the good. And you just, because it can get really, really real. You have to realize that, okay, there's a bigger purpose, there's a bigger plan to this, and that your mate, your spouse is not the enemy. And you have to learn to just love and grow, and but it also comes from, you have to be comfortable and know who you are and what you're called to, not taking that negativity out on anyone, but really your words and how you view yourself too will affect how you treat other people.
And you made some great points there. I think one of the first things I was hearing during that portion is how you start your day. And I know as best as possible, I have a couple hiccups every now and then. I know it happens, but how you start your day, for me, it's going for a walk in the park and reading my passages, just to kind of set the tone. And it doesn't mean that, everything's going to be perfect or you're going to be able to anticipate, especially with how some things that we'll talk about as we get closer to the end of the show. But I think it's like you said, it's just setting the tone, and like you were alluding to, when you're operating out of clarity, and I know a number of our guests have said that, when you're operating out of clarity, it's a whole lot better. And like you said before, some of those family stressors, we don't, like you said, as much as people love their families, some people have been seeing their family a lot more often than what they really planned. But and like you said, there's different pushes and pulls, but with you stating that, you're letting people know there are opportunities to slow down the moving parts. There are opportunities to regain your balance, your center. And I think that's real important, especially for some people whose faith might honestly be in doubt right about now. Now, I know you're not going to drop too much about what's on the horizon writing-wise, but if you could give, I'll say a pre-appetizer. You know how you get your appetizers, say your cheese sticks, or I'm trying to think, what was the spot? Two Urban Licks that had the salmon chips and what have you. How about you're just going shopping for the salmon? So what pre-appetizer, this is a good one, I know someone's going to borrow it, but what pre-appetizer advance can you give us regarding on the horizon with your next book or books? What might be some of the themes you may want to end up exploring or investigating?
I was getting hungry. You're
really?
talking about different appetizers. But no, it's a lot of tasty things coming up next year. I am very excited about my next book, Life Giver, and really it deals with the power of your words and how you have the opportunity to speak life or to destroy, through your words, and I'm really excited about it, especially now. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of things going on that it's easy to speak negatively and to really go down that road. But really, in whether it's your relationships, whether it's even you speaking to yourself, that really you have the power to bring life to a situation. And so I'm excited about that book.
See, this sounds like a little mini scripture, and the words I kept hearing, there is power in the tongue. Like you said, you can either build up or break down, and I think it's good what you said too in regards to how some of those verbal barriers can surface, and it kind of ties back in with one of the themes we talked about in the first segment. And I've said this before, and part of it is to remind me, but sometimes you got to get out of your own way. And I think that's real huge that you made sure to share that. So thematically, you've got that on the horizon. You've got, the education piece, the consulting piece. Goodness, how other than your faith, how else do you keep the peace? Because that's a whole lot of pieces going on. How else do you do it?
And you got to have fun, and you got to, enjoy, and make sure you schedule time to just be still and also have fun, and take care of you, take care of your relationships. And even after this, hopefully I can try to, you have business, but then you still have to take care and go out and try to. I know it's hard to go out now, but you can still find ways to try to stay at peace and stay, and still you have, especially now, to be thankful for each day. Is not a given, and so make the most of it.
Well, I tell you what, as we get ready to wind down, as we get ready, before we do our last two short pieces before we wind down, could you remind our viewers the best ways that they can stay connected and engaged with the work that you're doing?
Yes, so I'm Dr. Tonia Phanor, just DrTonia Phanor, Phanor on everything, Facebook, Instagram, drtoniaphanor.com. And for those who may have connected to what I was saying earlier about knowing you have a story and you want to share that story with others, I'm going to be doing some free workshops and virtual workshops for fearless speaking coming up soon. So definitely reach out to me and let me know you're interested, and you can get your story to the world.
Well, I tell you what, good doctor, we appreciate you being here, and I'm glad that everything worked the way that it did. You have some powerful work that you're doing, continued well wishes and blessings. And before we officially wind down, there's two photos that I want to take time to show and briefly talk about. I feel it would be remiss if we didn't. So if we can get that first photo up in just a quick moment. Given everything that's going on, yes, perfect. See, this is great technology. We got a team right here. But the first photo that you're seeing is of someone who, if you haven't heard by now, is former Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. And when we say fought the good fight, that is an understatement. We're not just talking through her health and through her age, but one of the hallmarks is gender equity. A lot of those things were long overdue, and her presence is going to be missed. But that same presence has to be used to continue to push forward. So to those out there, obviously we send prayers and encouragement and condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones. But if there's a way that we can all do a little bit better, is making sure we might not be perfect, but we can definitely be better than what we are. So we appreciate the work of Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. And then the last photo I definitely want us to show was information that was dropped a little bit earlier today, if we can get that last photo up. And there was news that came out of Louisville, Kentucky. Now, some people might say, well, the family got $12 million in a civil suit. But when you have the murder of an unarmed person, I don't care who you are. And if people want to come at me, that's their business. I'm ready. I'll just say this. The energy that we need to use has to be directed towards getting rid of the doctrine of qualified immunity, because no matter what structural changes you make in the training or the hiring or things along those lines, if you do not get rid of that doctrine, you're going to see more of this type of nonsense. And there is no way in your right mind that anyone can justify the murder of an unarmed citizen. And I'm going to say this before I go a little bit over time. All I'm going to say is, when you are lying asleep at night, that is your moment for you to rest and recover. There is no way a sleeping person is going to make anybody fear for their safety. So we will probably touch base on some of these other things later, but it would have been remiss of us here at the station for us not to take a little bit of time to say to those viewers out there, I'll just say personally, I understand, we understand, but let's channel that energy into the real issue, which is going to be getting rid of that legal doctrine of qualified immunity. You get rid of that, and you'll see some major changes, and all the other policy and procedure and hiring changes will have a lot more weight, because otherwise we're still going to be dealing with the same nonsense. So even in the midst of that, we still want to ask all of you to stay encouraged, to remain as engaged as possible, remain as informed as possible, be the best steward you can be. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close out this show. Get ready for the next show that'll be coming up at the top of the hour. So until next time, we'll see you 2 weeks from now. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton.